Welcome to the February 3rd, 2021 GRREC board meeting. We are offering it in person as an option, following social distancing and masking, and then we also have our virtual option as well. So we want to welcome everyone who are virtual and as well as our in-person participants. Before we begin, I definitely want to give a shout out to Ingenuity. They have sponsored our meals for today, our breakfast, and our lunch is my understanding. So thank you to Ingenuity for that. Now we'll transition to our roll call. Pam Stevens, Adair County.
Present.
Travis Henry, Allen County.
Here.
Bo Matthews, Barron County.
Here.
Gary Fields, Bowling Green Independent.
Here.
Nick Carter, Breckenridge County.
Here.
Robert Tuck, Butler County.
Present.
Irby Smith, Campbellsville. He was here. Cornelius Faulkner, Caverna.
Here.
Chris Bensel, Christian County. Tim Parson, Clinton County.
Here.
Keith Haynes, Cloverport.
Here.
Vince Clark, Crittenden County.
Here.
Matt Robbins, Davis County. Leonard Whalen, Dawson Springs.
Here.
Brian Alexander, Evanston County. Kelly Bush, Elizabethtown.
Here.
Keith Hale, Glasgow Independent.
Here.
Doug Robinson, Grayson County.
Here.
Will Hodges, Greene County. Kyle Estes, Hancock County. Terry Morgan, Hardin County. Nathan Smith, Hart County.
Here.
Bob Lawson, Henderson County. Deanna Ashby, Hopkins County. David Raleigh, LaRue County. Paul Mullins, Logan County. Dolores Losser, Marion County.
Here.
Jody Brackett, McLean County. Mark Martin, Meade County.
Here.
Josh Hurt, Metcalfe County.
I'm here.
Amy Thompson, Monroe County.
Here.
Robert Davis, Muhlenberg County. Wes Bradley, Nelson County. Seth Suther, Ohio County.
Here.
Matthew Constant, Owensboro.
Here.
Michael Ford, Russell County.
Good morning. I'm here.
Larry Bagley, Russellville.
Here.
Jimmy Dyehouse, Science Field.
Here.
Tim Slosser.
Here.
Charles Hitchens, Taylor County. Mark Thomas, Todd County.
Here.
Tricia Sheffer, Union County.
Here.
Rob Clayton, Warren County.
Here.
Rhonda Calloway, Webster County.
Here.
Corinne Murphy, WKU. All right, we definitely have a quorum. Now we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. I need a motion. A motion, I need a second. All in favor, if you want to say aye. Motion passes. Now we'll transition to our approval of the consent items. Minutes from the December 16th meeting. Financial statement as of the end of January 2021. Payment of bills at the end of January, and then the notification of bills paid. So I need a motion to approve the consent item.
Michael Ford, so moved.
Thank you, Michael. I need a second. Thank you, Paul. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Now I'll turn it over to Ms. Amber for introduction of guests.
Okay. We have, okay. All right. Use this one. Sorry, y'all.
News, we have Matt McCarty from KSBA, Stephanie Martin from WKU, Bobby Whitaker from Benefits Resource Group, Sue Kesey from Western Kentucky University, Dr. Greg Carter from KASA, Kate Mathis with American Fidelity, Joe Roberts with Roberts Insurance, Rhonda Caldwell from KASA, we have Mitch Hunt from RSA, Terry Sawyer from Energy Optimizers, Mr. Barry Anderson from Barry Financial, Sarah Little from Energy Optimizers, Dr. Anthony Strong from Compass Municipal Advisors, Megan Garchman from American Fidelity, Brian Wiseman from Houchins Insurance Group, Greg Phillips from Compass Municipal Advisors, Mr. Tim Murley from Alliance Corporation, Joe McCown from KDE, Dr. Greg Carter from KASA, Chris Tyler with Thermal Equipment Sales, Bob Targan from RSA, John Roberts from Roberts Insurance, Dr. Jim Quinn from KASS, and that is it. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ann.
Recognize our guests and thank you for being with us. Now we'll turn it over to our Executive Director, Bart Flanger.
Thank you. Two items on the action by discussion this morning. We have, first of all, asking for approval of a part-time safety contractor consultant for GRREC. As many of you know, we received a STAR safety grant in October, and we believe that with this grant funding, we can provide to add some extra part-time safety consultants that could go help visit our districts. Is Scott Howard, our STAR safety director, and Brad Stevenson, our STAR safety coordinator, are able to come see you all. Once we start figuring out how many schools there were and trying to visit each school each year, we want to add some folks to the team. So this is an ask for the approval of a job description, safety consultant here at GRREC. We don't know if that'll be 1, 2, or 3 folks, and we have the grant funds to pay for that through STAR. And if not, we would do it 1 year out of the general fund, and we have that in our budget as well. But right now, it's just approval of the job description.
Okay. Do I have a motion for the approval of the safety contractor job description? Thank you, Lenny. And a second?
Second.
Thanks, Vince. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Next one is related to attachment 6 in your board packet. This is ask for an approval of a level 1 stipend for facilities management. We have different stipends here for GRREC for different positions. And I've come to realize that one of our folks on our team has done facilities management and has done it for many years, including alarm, including everything from outside lighting. You didn't see it this morning, but we've added some great outside lighting this year. This person also manages and works with Stoy, our custodian. Most of you know Stoy at this time. Keeps the place absolutely clean, beyond belief. And so I want to add a stipend for facilities management that will be in the amount of $4,000, which lines up with our other stipends we do for folks who supervise folks, and that's the ask.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the stipend for facilities management. Motion. Thank you, Rowan. A second. Second from Tricia. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion passes. Now we'll turn it over to Mr. Flanger for the Executive Director report.
Thanks, Doc. We will also share this with you, but I will go through, and John, if you could just advance. I don't know if we have the video. I'm going to leave the video alone, but when you get this, you can watch the video later and see what Oxitani Field did yesterday. But I just want to say happy Groundhog Day, everybody. And remember the days when that was our greatest worry, was whether we were going to have 6 more weeks of winter, and whether we were going to have to call school for snow, and man, it's been a winter, and how are we going to make these days up, and are we going to go NTI or not? Don't you long for those days again? So happy Groundhog Day, everyone. That's the beginning of my report right there. Next, telling our story Kentucky campaign. Most of you and or your PR people joined us on January 6th for a webinar to unveil the hashtag Telling Our Story Kentucky Public Relations Campaign. We know that in the 171 public school districts in Kentucky, great things are happening all the time. We also know that if we don't tell our story, someone else will. And so we've challenged you all, asked you all to commit to promoting one hashtag Telling Our Story Kentucky, one story a month for 2021. That's 12 stories from E-Town Independent and Hart County and Adair County around the room. And if we did that in 171 school districts, the number of stories that would go out this year would be right at 2,021 stories, which is kind of cool. I like it when things line up number-wise. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll be glad to talk to you about it after. You can send me a text or email and say, hey, catch me up on this Telling Our Story, or go back and ask your PR people if they're aware of it. It doesn't have to be a big article or goes in the newspaper. It could be a small tweet with a hashtag Telling Our Story KY. That counts as well. Couple of examples from our districts that are already out there. I don't know Erica as a counselor at Red Cross, but I bet she does an outstanding job, and I love her quote. Sometimes it sounds so simple, but it can be so powerful when a child feels heard and valued. Got the BC hashtag in there, so she would just add on there hashtag Telling Our Story Kentucky, and that feeds into a bigger thing that we can keep up with it. Crittenden County, Vince, I should know this name because she was going to speak this morning, but Tiffany Lazina was going to be our guest speaker this morning. She's going to come in March and speak, doing a great job for Crittenden County in terms of their PR. She also works in HR over there. So, I know all of us, not all of us are fortunate enough to have a full-time PR person. Many of us have somebody wearing multiple hats, but this is a great example. And this is my friend Dennis Hodge, longtime teacher, health teacher, and basketball coach of Crittenden County. I had the fortune of watching him run past me in 1985 when the Caverna Colonels took on the Rockets, and he ran past me several times that night, and the Crittenden County Rockets won the state championship. And Dennis is now, after a career in the military, successful career, has come back, and he and his wife are both employees of Crittenden County Schools. So he's got his elementary picture in there and a more current picture. And so I'm going to click on that. I want to read that story. But I love Dennis's thought as well. Our kids are our greatest resource. These are all feel good, and you've all got them in your district, and you're all doing this work. We're just trying to tie it together. KSBA and KAEC, which is Kentucky Association of Educational Cooperatives, have launched this campaign for 2021. And this helps us line up against House Bill 149 and some of those other things, to tell them that we still believe public education, I get chills talking about it, is still the greatest opportunity for our students in Kentucky and really across the United States, but I'm more concerned about the bluegrass, and it's our greatest opportunity for kids. And you all do a wonderful job of this, so tell your story. All right, GRREC support for districts. Superintendent Russellville, I sometimes try to figure out, like, okay, I know GRREC helps us. I love the superintendent meetings. I know my director of special ed, Linda Shelton, loves the network meetings. But how do I measure if we're getting all the help from GRREC that we can get? And so I've asked Dr. Kelly Davis. Many of you know Kelly. She's our director of special education for 7 years. Last fall, she took on an additional title. That is now, she is the director of exceptional education and early childhood education. So she oversees Jamie Spagnardi and our early childhood team, special education, EL, and gifted and talented, among many other things. She's been awesome to work with, and she's created a report she shared at our staff meeting. I said, you got to show this. So please don't get down or overjoyed by your numbers. These numbers aren't all the contacts that we have at GRREC with your districts, and she'll explain that as well. But she's got some good graphics to show you and share. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you, Bart. I'll just take a couple of minutes to talk about this graphic. This is just a one-pager. I provide this to your directors of special ed every month. I actually put this in the board packet, but I know that that's probably like the lowest thing on your thing to go through that board packet and click on everything. But Bart saw this the other day. He said, I want you to talk about this for a minute. So, and this is not where I want it to be. I'll tell you that. We're always working on what's the best way I can find to share the impact that we had and the support that we provide for our districts and prioritizing that way. This is decent so far. So you can see on there, this is for July through December of 2020. And it just gives you kind of an idea of the number of activities that we've had through that time span for this group of people, and how many people we've served. That is a duplicated account, not an unduplicated count of people, because, for example, when I have my directors of special ed monthly meeting and 35 of them come this month, well, those probably same 35 are going to come the next month, so they're counted in that 6,660 people, at least twice in there. Does that make sense? So Kim Johnson's going to be in there a bunch of times because she, attends several things. So I don't really know how we can do an unduplicated count, or if you even want to see that, but that's a lot of touches that we've had this year so far. And then if you want to click on that further and you want to expand those out, you can just see those graphics bigger, but I've just tried to show these are the big types of activities that we have going on. This is right now how we're providing them as our delivery method, which of course this year looks very different than normal. The face-to-face is usually a lot bigger. And then what content areas are we really focusing on? Effective instructional practices, low incidence, math and reading, whatever it is. Now this bottom part with the district numbers is our number of direct and indirect supports that we provide. So an indirect support might be that maybe your new director of special ed, Steve, says, hey, can you help me with some resources? And so I might spend half a day with him working on some things. And so it's a direct service for him, but the time I spend looking for those resources is like an indirect support, if that makes sense. So we kind of try to capture all of that in there. So the numbers there though for you, that is not necessarily us reaching out to your districts, but your districts accessing the services that we provide. So, so some numbers are larger than others, but that just really, in my mind, that means that those districts are accessing those services more frequently than others. And we're, of course, always happy to support and work with any of our districts anytime. All you have to do is let us know what we can do to help you and support you, especially at this particular time. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I will go back to my seat.
Kelly, thanks so much. I'll just say, this is not the entirety of the touches or the contacts. Like, I don't know if you have food service director network meetings, you have counselor network meetings, and people are showing up. So not everything is in here. When I go get to visit you, and I enjoy those visits greatly, that doesn't make the list necessarily. This is a nice snapshot, more directed from the special ed part, but we can keep adding to these.
Yeah, then we've talked about maybe starting to add and do like one whole big GRREC one starting next year, so we could get all the touches in there then. Absolutely.
I love it because it has numbers and I love stats, and I thought it was nice to see a picture of some of the supports that we're able to provide and put some numbers to that. So, thank you, Kelly. All right, you guys are the first ones to hear about this next slide. I'm quite excited. After Dr. Doug Reeves spoke on January 19th, he said that if there was any magic bullets out there in terms of instruction and recovery instruction, one of them he thought would be student nonfiction writing. So I left that meeting that day and immediately went to Kelly and Dan's office, Dr. Dan Costello, our General Education Services Director, said, hey, we got to do something around nonfiction writing. And that created the genesis of the idea that let's have a student nonfiction writing contest. Let's sponsor it through GRREC. Let's make it available to all 45 GRREC districts, students at the 4th, 7th, and 10th grade levels, and let's add some cash prizes. And when I went to Dan Jones, our finance director, he was a little hesitant about the cash prizes, but he said we can actually give Visa gift cards for students and give those out. I know you run into Red Book issues in your district sometime with that, but we don't run into that Red Book issue. So here's the flyer. We will send this to your instructional folks later this afternoon, which are the first ones to see it. It's the GRREC 4th, 7th, and 10th grade resiliency contest. How do people grow and change in the face of adversity? Obviously, we're getting challenged in the last year in all ways by this, but they can't use the last year. So your 4th, 7th, and 10th graders need to go back to an adult in their life that has gone through some rough patch in a past time, earlier in their life. And they interview this person, and they ask them some questions, and we'll help with those prompt questions. And then they get the interview finished, and they write up the nonfiction narrative, and they submit it. Hopefully their teachers help them. Doesn't have to go through classrooms. It can go through parents and caregivers going over this with them, but I'm sure that a lot of your teachers will want to do something with it. It must be submitted by March 31st. So it's now February the 2nd, so we have about 10 weeks for this almost. And then when we come back together on May 3rd, we'll announce the winners of the first annual. Hopefully it's the first annual. Hopefully we'll keep doing it. We'll have lots of submissions. Winners of the student essay contest. Excited for that opportunity for your students. All right. One more. Vince talked about 3-week summer school sessions. And when I talk to you all, as a collective, I'm hearing lots about summer school. Some of you are calling it opportunity school because you don't want it to have the connotation of, oh, I got to go to summer school. I must have messed up in a bunch of classes. That's not the case. Lots of you are calling it ed camp. I mean, you got to call it all kinds of cool things. And you're already building these. Well, we know 45 of you are building. And we know that you're going to hear from vendors all over the place about they got the best package for you. So we don't want to necessarily be a vendor, but we also want to help work with you in case you don't want to go to a national vendor. So I asked our education team to start to think about creating some summer learning packages. And so the flyer on this that will go to your instructional folks today will look like this. We started out at the 3rd and 5th grade level. Doesn't mean we couldn't go to middle school level. Doesn't mean we couldn't do some high school stuff. But we just thought we'd start in elementary school. And our team would be willing to help your team if you want. The level of in-depth help will probably depend on how much help you want. And be able to create a package of a 3-week summer learning camp. And we're only starting with reading and mathematics, just the most basic core areas. And if your teachers wanted help with priority standards and what you're going to do in this 3 weeks and what the logistics might look like, we got some experts that could work on that in their time, because your teachers right now are worried about their students right now. And you're also asking to try to then build summer camps. And I said, well, right now I got to focus on this. And we know that we want that quality of summer camps to be good. So this is where, in my mind, the collective cooperative help can come in. So if you want more on this, if your instructional supervisors want more on this, Kelly, are they contacting you or Dan?
I think either.
Either Dr. Kelly Davis or Dr. Dan Costello here at GRREC. You can also say something to me, and basically I'll get them to get with your person, and they can explain this in much more depth if you want anything further. And again, we're not trying to be a vendor and make a bunch of money on it. We just want to help. If 4 different districts are thinking about a 3-week summer learning camp, we'd be glad to help you think with your people about that. And maybe we could put some models and some templates together. All right. ESSER 2 allowable expenditure wish list. If we click that, John, and you're going to get this. I just want you to see what it looks like. So, John, you want to describe how you did this?
Well, I just created a sheet, and at the bottom, I put tabs for the 8 categories that Bart had given me, and then you can just click on each category. And even this is from the survey response, and also from this morning. And I guess I should.
So the great thing about Google Sheets is you get in here and look at some, and you think it's some more, just keep adding to it. And we'll use this as a way for you to have a database of, well, here's some ideas. And as I said, the 8 things are at the bottom. Lots of good ones already, obviously. But that's how that can help you, hopefully, as a resource. Thanks, John.
And even you'll see some answers are twice or even more times. We wanted to wait, you know, if 10 districts had the same concern, we wanted to show that. So that's why it's listed more than once.
And we may group those by putting textbook with ebooks, or we may put an A in parentheses after. We may refine the list a little bit, but we just want to get the list started for you. All right, Doug Reeves, I won't say much on this, except I was so happy on January 19th to see 365 people on our shared network meeting. If you were in on it, he was fabulous. He talked about 5 core competencies of equity and excellence in schools. The subject was strategies to address interrupted learning, which we're all facing. Larry was talking about that this morning. But I thought he went further. He really got into the whole idea of grading and feedback and efficacy, and he's willing to do more with districts, and that will probably come at some cost. We can help work that out with you and Dr. Reeves and Creative Leadership Solutions. I know some of our districts, I think Allen County already works maybe with Dr. Reeves some. I love the quote at the bottom. Equity without excellence. We always want to talk about equity a lot, but equity without excellence is a code word for low expectations. If just everybody gets it, but we don't care about how good it is, that becomes a code word for low expectations. But the flip side of that, excellence without equity is a code word for exclusion. There's a very clear, very definite balancing act there. We want to be equitable, but we still want to be excellent. And I thought he did a great job of kind of working through that. The recording is available. If you missed it, it's like an hour and a half, I think. And if you start watching, I'm telling you, it's good stuff. So especially if your instructional folks didn't see it, John, how do we get can we just insert in this slide later?
Yep.
The link?
Yep.
All right, that'd be great. So it'll all be in one package for you. All right. Nearing the end of mine. The next slide. You might know what that is? It's a seesaw. That didn't look like the ones I rode at the Gouverneur Playground back in the day. They were wooden. It was a wooden plank, right? There's probably people too young. Like Nick Carter, he's so young, he probably never even rode a seesaw. They had all kinds of other stuff when he was growing up. But anyway, I'm just saying, when I think of seesaw, I think of balance, right? You're either on the top side or the down side. You're getting ready to go one or the other. Well, if you think about work and life, and you think about those things on a seesaw, the goal is to put the seesaw on a level plane, correct? And to have it actually balance out. Like scales, right? You're weighing these things. We talk about the scales of justice. You got work and you got life. I just want, and I'll leave this for now, and I won't play this. John, if you go to the next slide. This is a 3-minute excerpt, and I would encourage you to click it, Balance Life Later, and listen to Christy Wright. The interview is like 40 minutes. I took it from the 7-minute mark to the 10-minute mark. And she says a lot of things in 3 minutes. And I'll just read this last paragraph out loud. I have concern for you, and what you do is an educational and a community leader. You are both an educational leader and a community leader. Some of you are the biggest employers in your community. My major concern is not that you will lead well. I know you will lead well. I know that. My concern is you don't lose yourself or damage your health in the process. The leadership journey for you, and not just through the crazy COVID times. We all know the last year has been crazy. We know that. I mean, it's everybody. But even in regular superintendent times, you know how crazy it is.
You can come in.
Before COVID. It'll be crazy again after COVID. Be as crazy as you let it be. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and self-care actually really matters. And I just hope that you're finding time for self-care for yourself through this thing. Because if not, you will run out of energy and you will hit the wall and you won't be able to lead like you want, but more importantly, you won't be able to take care of the most important people in your life, and you will find challenges in your life that you don't want. So I want that for you. I listen to this Entree Leadership a lot. It's a really good business podcast. It's not an educational podcast. It's a business podcast by the Dave Ramsey Group, and I find it really applicable. And if you want to listen to this, you kind of listen to the whole thing, at least listen to this 3 minutes. I think you'll want to listen to the whole interview. Christy Wright is really sharp. She's really good. She's one of their top speakers, leaders, etc. And that's what I got for you.
All right, thanks, Bart. Appreciate your leadership. We'll now transition over to a report from KASA with Rhonda Caldwell.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for letting me be with you again this month. About now, you should be receiving a text message from the KASA team, and it does have some deeper information for you than the 4 quick things that I'm going to share with you today. And so if you're not getting that text message, if you would just let me know, we'll be sure and take care of that. I want to start off first and remind everyone about the AASA conference coming up on February the 18th and 19th. And it is a focus on social emotional learning as it relates to the whole child. And it is a great conference, and I hope you're registered. But the most exciting thing that's happening at that event this year is that our Superintendent, Patricia Sheffer, our 2021 Superintendent of the Year, is going to be recognized on Thursday morning, the 18th, at 10 a.m. Central Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So I hope you have that on your calendar, so if you're watching or not, but that you can at least send her a congratulatory note, because for me, it's just not a lot of fun to be Superintendent of the Year in a COVID world. And so appreciate the help. I know you guys all love her, but especially want to put her in the limelight on the 18th. I also want to give all of you a shout out and say thank you for responding to my surveys, my feedback loop questions, and the encouragement of your staff as advocates. And 2 really quick updates. I want to say thank you for your help on House Bill 149 and Senate Bill 25. These are the Education Opportunity Account bills. We're not really certain how these are going to go right now, but what I'm hearing this morning from some of our superintendents is that they are being told by their representatives that they might be hearing from 100 of their constituents favoring these bills, but they're only hearing from about 10 of those folks who oppose these bills. So I know many of you, most of you have already touched upon this with your legislators, but if you could encourage the rest of that admin team to reach out, you do have access to the talking points document from KASA in this text link. Really could use your help on that. We're hoping it stays in the Appropriation and Revenue Committee where it is right now, and that it doesn't move any farther, but it's going to take everyone's help. I also want to touch base with you on House Bill 258. That's the pension reform bill. It got its first reading yesterday. It's going to get a second reading today. Thursday, it will be in the State Government Contracts Committee meeting, and it's expected to get its third reading and passed on to the Senate on that afternoon. So that bill is moving really fast. It is one that KASA supports, and there is an actual aerial report that was released last night, and over the next 30 years, there's like $3 billion that's saved. So we'll be getting more information to you on that. But in the link, you will find all of KASA's communication on this TRS reform bill that you can have at your fingertips. So make sure that folks know that you do support that bill. The next thing, I want to remind you that we have our roadmap to return and remain in school tomorrow. That's 9:30 Eastern Time and 8:30 Central Time. On the agenda tomorrow is post-COVID-19 syndrome, the next conversation after the vaccination. What does it look like? What do we need to be thinking about? We've got some great superintendent leadership for you there. And we're also going to be talking about ESSER II funds, what is permissible From a legal perspective, Wayne will be delivering that. And then we'd like to hear from you how you're thinking about using your funds so that we can have a statewide conversation and everyone be in the know. My last thing, and you're the first to hear this news, registration for KASA's annual conference is open on our website. And we do still have room for district retreats. We've signed up 10 districts. We typically have room for 20 to 24. It'll be exciting to go back to the Galt House this year because all of the renovations are complete. And some big news for the day is we have signed on Stephen Covey as one of our keynote speakers, and he will be with us for the day. And so, Mr. Fleener, thank you for the time, and Superintendent Biggerstaff, appreciate you both. And with that, my report is complete.
Thank you, Rhonda. What were the dates for the KSA conference this summer?
Important detail, thank you. Those are July 28th, 29th, and 30th.
Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. Now we'll go to a report from KDE with Joe McGowan.
Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. Just want to share a few updates from KDE for you. First one, Dr. Glass is in the current process of seeking feedback on additional pandemic-related funding for our schools, specifically posing the question, how do we use the nearly $928 million in funding from the federal government to support Kentucky students? And I noticed earlier that you have already started a wish list, and so continue to add ideas to that and give feedback to Dr. Glass on how you see that money being spent. We are urging all of our superintendents to look at how we can meet the larger social emotional needs we're hearing about for our students too. As a result of the pandemic and isolation, of course, you're aware it's been hard for all of us as adults, but it's even harder on some of our students. So how can we help them recover from the hardships they have faced? And how do we continue to make sure our students are healthy and receiving the nutrition they rely on that comes from our school meals? So continue to give some thought and feedback about how we use our education dollars. We are currently seeking nominations that are now open for the 2022 Kentucky Teacher of the Year. We currently have 422 nominations, but we would love to see a big increase from the GRREC region on that. And there's a form that's filled out and you can nominate a deserving educator. So we encourage you to do that. KDE is also seeking community voices for valuable feedback throughout the year. And despite our efforts to publicize, we only have 36 responses statewide. So we need your help in providing announcement to folks about the creation of a new subscription list. And this is on the KDE Community Communications page, and it's called Community of Voices. I also want to mention a really important virtual listening tour that Dr. Glass is going to start. These will be announced publicly today. This is an effort to gather feedback, and especially from our superintendents. It will begin April 6th and run through May 6th. There will be 9 sessions. They're going to be held across the state, one in each co-op region and then one in Louisville. And these sessions will inform our continuous improvement efforts. There's a link to pre-register that's sent out from our Office of Communications. So please take advantage of getting involved with those virtual listening tours with Dr. Glass coming up. Keep in mind our next superintendent's webcast is scheduled for February 9th and the 23rd, 2 of those this month. And those are 2 to 4 like usual, and you can view those on the KDE media portal. A major focus on equity and inclusion, and the department is doing an equity inclusion scan. As you're aware, the KBE unanimously adopted a resolution affirming its commitment to racial equity. And so they are in the process of expanding the scan to include several more stakeholder groups, including principals, district administrators, central office staff, other instructional staff, school counselors, students, parents, school board members, and community members. So pretty much everybody related to our educational community. There's a form for that as well that's being sent out by our Office of Communications. So please encourage people to provide feedback for that equity and inclusion scan. Last thing I'd like to mention, there is a 2021 Continuous Improvement Summit coming up, and that is currently scheduled for September 22nd and 23rd at the Lexington Convention Center as usual, and that is to enhance our continuous improvement work there. So keep that on the calendar. So thanks for being with you today. I hope everybody's doing okay.
Thanks, Joe, for the information. Appreciate that. Now we have a report from the LSAC committee. David Raleigh, are you online?
I am. I have trouble finding the little mute thing down here. I got here late, so I apologize about that. We started our vaccinations today, so trying to get all that stuff lined out. So in terms of LSAC, there was only one agenda item, and it was a carryover from actually the first reading took place back in November. It was the amendment to 703 KAR 5:270 Kentucky's accountability system. So the LSAC had a special call meeting on 12/1. I think I've already shared that information with you. But then we had another meeting regarding this amendment on the 26th, and basically went over the end count, the weights, and there was a chart. I don't know if you guys recall that color-coded chart or not. But those are the three things that went over. Pretty much, the LSAC went with the recommendation from KBE on well, not necessarily KBE. I'm trying to read my notes here as I'm going along here. There was input from several advisory councils. So before it goes to KBE, so the LSAC went with the recommendation from those different committees. The only thing that the LSAC asked is that instead of, when you look at the end count in terms of 10 and 30, in terms of the minimum, LSAC, there's folks that were thinking in terms of some of the smaller districts where the enrollment might be disproportionate, and maybe looking at the possibility of using a percentage for that. So that has, so I'll read the motion to you. You guys have this in your packet. The motion to approve the regulation is recommended by KDE, with the recommendation that KDE explore minimum end count flexibility with the United States Education Department to use the 10/30 or percentage of population. So I think that's the part that's still being explored. Like I said, there's the only agenda item, and so that's all we have. Also, I included, I think AMA have attached those for you. I included some summaries of those changes to the amendment for you as well. So you could see what the changes are and what the rationale was for those. That's all I have.
All right, thanks, David. Appreciate that information as well. Do we have anyone to report from the SAC, Superintendent Advisory Council? I know they don't meet very often. Matt Robbins or Cornelius, if you don't met. Oh, no.
Is that continuing the tradition of the one that Scott Howard was on and I never reported on in the 3 years I was superintendent in Russellville?
That's the one.
We go to Scott, and Scott, what do you got for us? Oh, we moved our meeting to next month. I'll bring something in. And then next month, like,
They moved, yeah, they keep
like Charlie Brown with the football, you know, I kept thinking we were gonna hear from Scott at some point.
I remember us meeting all the time.
Revision is history, man.
Now we'll have a report from WKU with Corinne Murphy.
Okay, good morning. So 3 items today. The first is substitute teaching. I recall the student teachers this semester are allowed to substitute teach. That has been going very well as far as I can tell. We're very excited about that. Great opportunity both for the districts and the teachers. And I just wanted to make you all aware, I continue to tell the state how great it is, because I am hoping that we can make this one of those, hey, this is what we learned during the pandemic, and make it a permanent post-pandemic option. So excited about that opportunity. Also related to the state, you all may recall that We had, the principal certification had been moved to a postmaster's certification level. So you had to have your master's degree first. That has changed. And so just last week, Western was able to approve the new master's degree in instructional leadership based off of the Wallace model, which leads to school principals. So now people can simultaneously achieve that master's degree and the school principal licensure. So we're excited about that. If you are interested in cohort programs within your district or between districts, feel free to give a shout out to me or to Dr. DeSander, and we'll work with you on that. And then finally, thank you all for your submissions to the Western Kentucky University Distinguished Educator Award nominations. We're excited, obviously, really exceedingly excited to celebrate our current educators this spring. And so we'll be working through that process. Meanwhile, also recall that we are honored to host and home the Kentucky Teacher Hall of Fame. And of course, this is for our retired educators. It's located in the first floor of Gary Renzel Hall, and we will open the 2021 nomination period for the Kentucky Teacher Hall of Fame later this month. Eligibility would be recognizing Kentuckians who have made significant contributions to the teaching profession, and selection is made from individuals living or deceased who have spent a significant portion of their professional career in Kentucky and have made noteworthy contributions to the lives of children and youth in P-12 school settings. So those are the happenings on the Hill at the moment, and really excited to see all of you and your teachers get back to having students in your classrooms physically. So other than that, be well.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. We appreciate our partnership with Western. Thank you. Now we have a report from KASS with Jim Flynn.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. And just a quick update from CAS. Rhonda has done a good job covering most of the major build topics, and appreciate the partnership we have with KASA and other education stakeholder groups in our advocacy efforts. And I will say that we are making some progress on many fronts, but we need to continue our advocacy. First and foremost, the big prize is the budget, and that process continues to move along. It has slowed down a bit, it appears, and I think they're going to take a little bit more time to really look at what the priorities are and how that will go forward. But just a quick reminder that we are advocating primarily around base SEEK funding, and that's really important to not only the here and now, but ongoing and has long-term implications. And I'll share a little bit. But our updates I send you via email is a link to our website. And if you go to CAS updates, you can find all of those, and includes information, but has information on our state budget priorities. And again, we're asking for that inflationary increase to the SEEK base. And I think it's important to help legislators understand the difference between federal funds and how those are one-time short-term funds that will support our pandemic response, which make sure they understand the range of services that you're offering to ensure that children are getting education services, they're being fed, and their social emotional needs are being addressed to the best of our ability, but that we're also going to have significant costs associated with all the recovery needs, most noteworthy the education recovery of our students and the impact this pandemic has had on many, particularly our most vulnerable disadvantaged students. And so those federal funds will really help there, but they should be used to supplement, not supplant state funding, and that the state needs to ensure that we have ongoing foundational programming for our schools. And in the federal legislation, it talks about the maintenance of fiscal effort, and that states, in order to qualify for these federal funds, must maintain that fiscal effort. And so our priority again is base SEEK, but to continue those investments in full funding of the ARC, funding the statutory requirement of the Medical Insurance Trust Fund for retiree health insurance, and continuing invest in those local nickel taxes by funding the equalization that's already been approved. We've given you some details on the talking points there, and I encourage you to go and use those. Rhonda also mentioned about our position regarding House Bill 149 and Senate Bill 25. I'll be sending out an alert later. I think later today, we are making some progress there, particularly with rural legislators whose communities stand to lose, in fact, if this proposal is to go through. But if you haven't done so already, I encourage you to talk to your legislators and invite other education stakeholders in your community to join us in our opposition to any kind of proposal that privatizes public funds for education. I try to make sure they understand we're not opposed to school choice and a family's right to choose where their child gets educated. But we think this is a really bad proposal, and we have some good reasons why in those talking points. Ron, yes.
Would you just click the map? I think if you click it, we'll be able to see it. The map that shows what counties, you can either click the one that has them or the one that doesn't have private schools.
Yeah, this is a pretty powerful talking point, particularly if you serve a rural community. Let me get on the right one there. Well, are you seeing the slide?
About how much we're seeing a different graphic about why you should oppose.
Yeah, let me find that the maps. See if that pops up. Okay. The orientation's a little bit off here, but you can see these shaded counties are where they have at least one private school, a certified private school that would qualify for these funds. And so you can see the majority of Kentucky is, doesn't have even one certified private school. And so, the other thing we know is that the concentration of those are up in really the Golden Triangle, and that the majority of these schools are located specifically in Louisville and Lexington. And so that's where these funds are going to go. And with those income limits, that makes a big difference. I've gotten some feedback from several of you that really just the fact that it's a tax credit, period, and the loss of revenue is something that is gaining some traction. So I think that plays well, and the fact that there's no economic return on investment is another important talking point that seems to have caught the attention of legislators. And the third thing that I've really heard some of them talk about is the fact that why does this get a tax credit? There's so many worthy causes out there. Many of you all have boys and girls clubs and other philanthropic programs that make a real positive impact in communities across Kentucky. But why does this one get a tax credit? And really, we ought to reserve tax credits only for those things that are going to create jobs, bring new business to Kentucky, or keep existing business here that can expand and grow and therefore generate a net revenue gain for Kentucky as opposed to this. But good point, Bart.
Thanks, Jim. I think you really helped me, Steve Riley really helped me understand what this whole tax credit thing meant. Like, I didn't understand it until Steve said, yeah, it's not a deduction, it's a tax credit. If I owe $20,000 to the state of Kentucky on my taxes, and I won't, but that'll make up. But if I owe that, I could designate $15,000 to go to this education opportunity accounts, and it would go into that account, and Kentucky would only get $5,000 from me in taxes. So I could basically say where my taxes are going. And that's what Jim was saying. Like, well, what if I wanted to go to, I can't have them go to my church or to the Boys and Girls Club or to good old WKU or whatever, but I can put them in this thing. And it doesn't, as Jim said, it's just a really bad bill, and we just gotta do everything we can. It's not just about, oh, we don't want people to have school choice, it's not even about that. As Steve Riley says about the tax credit thing, it doesn't make sense. We're trying to have less tax credits in Kentucky, not more tax credits. We don't need things that are gonna take away revenue. And so if you're focusing on calling someone, it may seem like, well, there's a whole lot of things to talk about here. Just focus on the fact that y'all done everything you can to try to limit tax credits. I've heard Jason Petrie say that, like, there's too many tax credits out there. Well, we're about to pass another one. Why would we pass this one? We're trying to have less tax credits. So.
Yeah, in fact, Bart, to that point exactly, in our talking points, there's a link to a report of the task force on tax expenditures. And this group of legislators worked on this in 2018 and gave some strong recommendations in this report to the General Assembly. And essentially it said that what the General Assembly needs to focus on is sunsetting the majority of these tax credits, not creating new ones. And so those are some of the points that have made the most difference. And I know actually one legislator said something to me about, at the same time, they were like, this is a policy proposal that has originated outside of Kentucky, and that there are some groups that are promoting these kinds of policies in states across the country. And one of the things that we can pride ourselves in the state of Kentucky is that we have been a national and world leader in education reform. And we don't necessarily need outside groups coming in and telling us, how and what policies we need to make education better in Kentucky. There's much smarter ways to create opportunities and an environment where parents can make informed choices about where they send their child to school without it costing the state a lot of money. And that's what this bill does. So we really urge you to reach out to your legislative delegates and explain why this is bad for Kentucky, and hopefully we can be successful there. Rhonda, moving on though, Rhonda did mention House Bill 258. Representative Ed Massey has done an extraordinary job leading this process. He has been very inclusive, very methodical, and very transparent in how he's moved this bill forward. We, along with all the stakeholder groups impacted by this bill, have been at the table throughout its development. But as Rhonda mentioned, it will be heard, and now they are going to go ahead and vote on that bill tomorrow at noon Eastern time in the state government committee meeting for the House. And so I want to make sure you knew about that. And she mentioned that actuarial analysis, and I have a link to it there, but over 30 years, it will save the state $3.57 billion. And at the same time, we will continue to be able to offer new hires in this tier, if it were to pass, a secure retirement benefit that we feel like we can continue to recruit and retain high quality talent to serve in our schools. So our board of directors unanimously approved support for this bill. And so we're hoping that we can get this thing passed and actually put pension reform for TRS behind us. Some other bills that I just mentioned real quickly is we have worked closely with President Stivers and his staff on Senate Bill 5, which is a liability relief bill. Eric Kennedy and Wayne Young and I have worked closely in the development of that, and we've got some information there to share, but lots of partners have signed on to support that. We've also been working with Representative Regina Huff as the House Education Chair on House Bill 208, and that bill provides those relief measures that were approved last session in Senate Bill 177, but those expired at the end of the school year, and so it continues and clarifies some of those relief measures, for example, around funding and how that would be calculated for next year, around NTI days and those kinds of things. And I heard Tim Slosser in the work session talking about the veto overrides on, like House Bill 1 and Senate Bill 1 and some other measures that were meant to balance the authority of the governor and the General Assembly in a crisis situation like a pandemic. But these will clarify some of those questions that superintendents have been asking about. Well, what are the impacts of those on various aspects of the executive orders that we need to ensure moving forward? This just puts in black and white clarity around those. And so we support those, and we're expecting her to have an education committee meeting and present this to get it moving. So stay in tune on that. And then finally, I'll mention, I got a contact this morning from Commissioner Tackett. Senator Wise and Senator Girdler have introduced Senate Bill 128, and we need to look closely at this because this would allow public high school students currently enrolled in Kentucky to request to use next school year as a supplemental school year to retake and supplement coursework already completed, including being eligible to participate in athletics. So begin thinking about that, and we'll send some information out for your feedback and see how that moves forward. But I'll stop there, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those.
All right, thank you, Jim, for all that information.
All right, have a good one. Take care.
Next, Matt McCarty is not here. He does not have anything to report from KSBA. Do we have anything else we want to discuss that's not on the agenda?
One, Matt McCarty, KSBA, has reminded us again that Devon Page, Russellville Independent board member, will be taking over as new KSBA president. That's going to happen this month. So we're excited for her. And I think at KSBA conference, which has been moved to April, right? And they're going to have it in person in Louisville. So as you talk with your board members, that Devon will get some kind of recognition ceremony there. So exciting to have the lead there in our GRREC region, as well as obviously superintendent of the year in Kentucky in our GRREC region as well. It's nice that we're representing. Ann probably doesn't want me to do this, but I'm going to just stop and say that I know that you saw the email probably, but Ann is from a family of educators, and dad and mom both retired educators in Butler County, brother's an educator in Butler County. Ann's around this education thing her whole life, 25 years here, is that correct? A lot. But she lost her dad last week, and the funeral was Sunday, and so just keep that family, keep the Burton family in your thoughts and prayers. My mom's gone through some health challenges in the last 3 months as well. My mom's able to come to work with her yesterday. Is she here today? No. All right. So one day was enough for her to be around this gang. Huh? So she was here yesterday. I'm so glad to talk to her and just hear her stories. My people are from Butler County, so Ann's mom was able to tell me all about my people, things I didn't even know about cleaners in Butler County. So just continue to be with Ann. 27 years, her dad was an educator, first year in Barron County back in 61, 62, and then 26 years back in his home county in Butler County. I heard a story on that. The story was he went to Barron County as coach. I don't know if Ann, if you confirmed this or not, but went to Barron County as coach. He was at, where'd he go? Bear Charles High School. Temple Hill High School, right? And apparently, the basketball coach, he didn't play the son of one of the board members. Well, I'm just saying, this is a story. Well, you know, I saw the story. I don't know if we confirmed it or not. But that didn't go well. They weren't going to renew him. But the blessing is he got to go back home to Butler County, to his home county. Got to marry Celicia. Did I say that right? Got to marry Celicia, and the rest is history. So that's a story on Raymond Rayburn. Went to Butler County, played college basketball, Middle Tennessee, and a storied education career from there. So sad for your loss, but many wonderful things to say, and lots of great stories there about him.
All right, our next board meeting will be March 3rd, 2021. I assume we will probably offer in-person and virtual moving forward unless something else changes. And I want to also thank Ingenuity. Who's the guy?
Tim Renfro.
Tim Renfro.
And lunch is gonna be, as soon as we're done here, Beth is ready to bring lunch in. I don't even think it's in, she's gonna bring it around, all right? So somebody would contact Beth. I think we're ready.
All right, that sounds good. I need a motion to adjourn. I think everybody's in favor of that. All right, thank you all.
Thanks.